Okay. Sorry for recording. So I always wondered, I got the textbook, looked through it. I'm never going to understand this material. So I know that's in your mind as well. So I'm going to address that very first thing before I get started. So I'm going to give you my best pitch on why you should take this course. You're wondering if you made a good choice, and the answer is yes. And because it's the best course I teach at Stanford. Of course, it's the only course I teach at Stanford. So what does that mean? I put a lot of energy into the course, and you'll see that. And it's the best assistive technology course at Stanford. Well, it's the only assistive technology course at Stanford, so I have no competition in that respect. Everybody who's taken the course has done a good job, not necessarily because I'm lenient. It's because students are really into it. So be prepared for that. You may meet your love connection, and I'm not talking about another person. I'm talking about the technology and the other people that you'll be working with. Okay, so you may want to take it for the fame and notoriety. And here are some students who have taken the course previously, showing off their project at a design competition in Washington, D.C. You can be on the home page of Stanford Alumni or Stanford's website. And there's the red carpet. You may be on the red carpet. You're actually compelled to take this course because everybody wants to do things for social good, whether you know it or not. Could you close your laptop? Laptop, close. Laptop. Thank you. Laptop, close. Thank you. No. You're okay. And it's important for you to know that all the money and time that you're spending in Stanford can help other people. And we're going to do that today. Benefiting society is something that you might not have thought about, but it's I guarantee you're going to be thinking about it in this course and once you get out of Stanford. It's the top things that graduates rate in choosing their first job. There are a lot of job opportunities in this area, both in research and device development and working with people with disabilities. And some of it is really interesting, involving robotics and other high-tech stuff. You might have heard good things about the course. How many people have heard about this course from somebody else? Okay, great. That's good. So we go on field trips, and of course, we have our fireworks show every year too. So that's good. You may want to take something completely different, and I guarantee this is a different course, and it's hard to judge it with all the other courses because it is unique. So my name is Dave Jaffe, and the only name you can call me is Dave because I am not a professor, just like the professor on Gilligan's Island. He wasn't a professor, and neither was I. I'm not a doctor like Dr. Zorba here, whose name is Sam Jaffe, no relationship to me. And if you call me Mr. Jaffe, I think you're going to be talking about my father, who is famous because he coined the phrase, partly sunny, because he had a bunch of car washes, and he thought people would be more willing to bring their cars in for a wash if the forecast was partly sunny versus partly cloudy, and I swear this is true. So, but he was a lawyer. So a little bit about me. This is what I looked like when I was about your age, so you can laugh now, but people might be laughing at you later on when you're in this position. I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, where Coach Harbaugh is now. So that was fun. And Northwestern, and majored in double E in biomedical engineering. And I had worked at the VA hospitals outside Chicago, and most recently down the street at the Palo Alto VA. And I'll talk more about what the stuff that I did there. And at Stanford, I'm involved in a lot of other courses, notably 218, 113, ME 294, and I help anybody on campus who's doing an assistive technology project, okay? So I have lots of experience. And my passion came from a TV show back in the 50s called Watch Mr. Wizard. I'm sure none of you even heard about him, but he had these kids into his house, and he did experiments with them and got them interested in science. And I was a very early computer adopter, so this is my computer loft in late 70s. And when I started this, we had a club in Chicago, and we had every computer user in Chicago at that meeting, and the 10 of us sat around one table. So that's a long time ago. So, yeah. So I'm pretty much the course organizer and master of ceremonies. There'll be a lot of other people talking to you in coming weeks. So you're going to hear from me every week, but you're going to hear from a lot of other people too, because there's lots of people there out there that have really good knowledge in areas. And I've gone through tremendous trouble to find the most interesting lecturers for you. Not just the most interesting topics, but people who could present them really well. So we're going to be talking about the course today. We're going to be talking about assistive technology and previewing some of the projects that you'll hear more about on Thursday. Okay. So the first thing is the paperwork. It's really important that you sign in on the attendance sheet to make sure your attendance is credited, because that does count. So if you haven't done that yet, we'll have a break and you can come up and sign in. And just for the action of signing in, you get a chocolate chip cookie. So that's your reward. That should be motivation for you, not only to sign in, but to participate in class. There's a bunch of handouts, and there are some for people who are taking the course for 3 units and working on a team project. There's some for handouts for people who are taking the course for 1 unit with a letter grade, and there's some for all other students. And it's okay for you to switch. You'll hear more about these options a little bit later. If you decide to switch one way or another, it's okay with me. Just tell me as well, so I can make the changes. Okay. So there's a bunch of other forms about. And there's one with a questionnaire on it. I really want to know what your expectations are, why you decided to take the class, and because that's very helpful for me. Oh, here's these folks again. I'll talk about them later on. So the course started as a way of getting students interested in working on assistive technology projects in ME 113, which is a senior course. And so this course in the winter was designed as a precursor to that course, so students would be able to get some background on assistive technology so they can really do a good job on an assistive technology project. And that's where I came in. So the main objective of this course is confidence, okay? If you have confidence, you have better stature. People can see that. And how do you get confidence? You have to know the material. You have to know how to use the skills and all the knowledge that you've acquired at Stanford. So it's really important to have this confidence. This confidence comes from exercising critical thinking, communication skills, working in a team, and interacting with people in the local community. These are all things that you're going to be doing once you're out of here. You may not have done any of it all at Stanford, but this is a chance for you to practice these skills, because I guarantee you, you're going to be spending your life doing this kind of stuff. And I wish I knew that when I was going to school. They didn't tell me that, so I'm telling you now, that's where you're going to be. So you're going to be doing this, going through a design development process and working with people with disabilities and older adults for people who are working on projects. The skills, again, independent thinking, critical thinking, making the use of stuff that you know, other resources, analyzing things, solving problems, both in fabrication and being creative, working in a team, working in the community with outside people. And that's sort of called public service. And when it's applied to education, it's called service learning. How many people have heard of the term service learning before? Excellent. That's great. So in the In the fabrication and designing part of the things, we go through a process which you'll hear much more about next Tuesday. The communication of writing reports and doing presentations is very important. We'll be taking a couple stabs at that. We'll also be doing a lot of other things. There's always an opportunity for you to ask questions, for you to think about things. Now, when I was taking courses, back last century, my expectation was I'd buy a book, we'd go through it chapter by chapter, working on problems, we'd do a few problems at night, and we have quizzes and exams and stuff like that. And I'd hear the professor, every day, the same time, every day. Well, we're not going to do that. If you love to do homework and problem sets, take quizzes and exams and finals, this is not the course for you, okay? If you like going through the textbook chapter by chapter, again, we're not doing that. If you're excited about learning about something with no obvious application, we're not going to be doing that either. And it's amazing how much students forget, just from one quarter to the next. So I hope you'll be remembering, the stuff that you're learning here. Listen, you're all here at Stanford. You don't need to be better students. You don't need to know how to take exams better, okay? Once you get out of here, all those skills, throw them in the garbage can. You're never going to use them again, okay? This may sound weird, but I guarantee you that's the way it is. Am I right, Fred? Okay, Fred's shaking his head. So what about the course? What this course isn't, it's not a D-School course. It's not about design thinking or product design. It's not just about ideas and Post-it notes and whiteboards and markers. We're not going to be doing anything about starting a company or commercializing a device or doing anything with business, marketing, or manufacturing. And the projects you're going to be working on are typically with individuals, local individuals. There's going to be no finals, quizzes, no books to buy, but I'll give you some interesting reading to do, and no problem sets and stuff like that. You've done enough of that, right? Yeah, okay, that's enough. What this course is about is the intersection of technology and people, and that's really important. And it's about assistive technology in many forms, and you'll see how extensive assistive technology is a little bit later. It's going through a design development process that solves problems, which you'll be doing no matter where you are. You'll be solving problems for whatever company you're working with. You're going to be working in a team. You're going to be working in a team when you graduate, so we're going to practice that. So it's really like a preview of your professional life. I want you to think of it that way because that's what it is. So the course is a certified service learning course. It's approved for the undergraduate degree in ME and also in the master's program. It's approved for Science, Technology, and Society. I think there's a couple folks from that program, and Human Biology and LDT program. And it was listed as one of 2 Save the World courses. So here it is, Save the World, and here's my course. So talk to your parents. Parents, I'm taking a course that will save the world. That'll be great. But I want to ask you, is it really save the world or change the world? I've heard both of those. I'm not sure what it is. And if it's save the world, how many people do you have to save the world? That's rhetorical, but I want you to think about that and maybe send me an email. So the course is twice weekly lectures. And I'm going to bring in a lot of people to talk about very interesting topics and to have panel discussions. We also have some tours, so we're not going to be in this room all the time. And we're also having a movie screening, which is new this year. That'll be a lot of fun. I think we're going to get popcorn and stuff like that, so that's going to be fun. And an assistive technology fair. So be lots of things to do outside the classroom. Yeah, I see stuff. There'll be a lot of opportunities for thought and reflection and discussion, and of course the design experience in working on a project. So you're going to hopefully gain an appreciation for the challenges in developing assistive technologies, be learning about assistive technology strategies and interaction of people with technology. For those who are working on a project, you'll have that design experience. You'll be employing whatever skills you have, and even if you're not an engineer, you're going to have the ability to fabricate something because we have an excellent shop facility here, and you'll have, and even if you're not an engineer, you can do some amazing things, and I'll show you an example of that later on. So it's not just another course, it's a preview of what you're going to be doing once you're out of Stanford, okay? If you like equations, this is the one you'll get. If you like derivations, go to another class, not here. Okay, so here's the options. I purposely made it a very flexible course. The 1 unit options, you can just attend 10 lectures by signing in. See, that's where that form comes in handy. You get 1 unit of credit. If you need a letter grade, you can do a small project, and it's pretty much open-ended, but so you come up with an idea, or we can sit and talk about an idea for an individual project, and it could be just writing a paper or doing a CAD design, something that is like 1 unit. It's not more than 1 unit worth of work, and we can discuss what the goals for that would be. If you're taking the course for 3 units, you can participate. You participate in a team project, and you can continue your work in ME 113 or the computer science equivalent of it. You can work on it as independent study later on if you want to have follow-up. But you need to attend all the lectures for that. So if you're working on a team project, we're going to go through these activities. You already have a handout that has the project suggestions. On Thursday, you're going to start forming a team and selecting a project. And then once you do that, then you go through a whole sequence of design-related things to really understand what the problem is, brainstorm, come up with concepts, figure out what the best concept is, start prototyping, fabricating, testing, and iterating, and then you'll be presenting the design and midterm presentation and a final presentation. Okay? Projects build people. That's what Professor Leifer says. So it's really about building yourself, not so much about the device. It's about building your confidence and abilities. So these are 8 weeks prototypes. I don't expect to have them be ready to go to market. They're going to be pretty crude. I want them to be functional so you can test them. They can be high-tech, they can be low-tech, they can be computer-oriented, they can be mechanical. But the important thing is going through the process and getting something functional and working with an individual with a disability or older adult. So your team is like a company. So if you're thinking about starting a company, maybe this is a way to practice that. So your company has team members, resources, deadlines, budgets, people to please, problem to address, and a goal. So you're going to have the same thing here. And a team has a team name. You might want to come up with a logo, a name for the project, a name for the device itself, and maybe those things come a little bit later, and maybe a catchphrase. I mean, that's important. So think about it. If it helps you, work on your project by thinking that it's like your company, this is what you can do. There are some instances where you may hold off on taking the course for 3 units. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, or you have very little fabrication experience, but you're going to be taking ME 203, next year, you may want to hold out until that. If you're already taking a big project course, you don't want to take this one as well, because you're going to mess up in both courses. I guarantee it. If you're an athlete and you have to go practice, then you may want to reconsider taking it this year. I had Dwight Powell in here last year, remember, basketball player? He did a great job, but he was gone a lot of the time. He made up the lectures, and he had a good project, and he was a good student. And here's something. You can take the course for 1 unit now and take it again for 3 units later on. I didn't know that this was possible, but a couple students have done this, and it was just really weird to have them ask me, can I take this course twice? I mean, it's just out of the blue, but you can do it, okay? So keep that in mind. Team projects, there's a midterm report. And you communicate your team's progress to me. Consider me the boss. The boss always wants to hear about what you're up to. The final report and project are really where I consider you as professionals, not students anymore. So I want a professional report and presentation. And everybody will have a chance to reflect on what you did in class. Same thing with an individual project. You meet with me to agree on a project. Again, communicate progress, just a final report and presentation. Grading, pretty straightforward. The final report and presentation are bulk of the grade. Notice that participation is in here. So what does that mean? I want you to ask questions of me. If you are embarrassed to do so in class, I actually have little question sheets. So if you're embarrassed to raise your hand, you can write a question on here, and you can be anonymous. So okay, trying that out this year. If you can send me email with questions, I'll be happy to answer them. That's fine. So that's really important that you participate, because a leader is somebody who participates, and you're all leaders. As a Stanford graduates in the future, people will expect you to be a leader, to expect you to participate. So practice that now. Similar grading for individual project. And if you want to take this forward next quarter, there are some options there. At the beginning of most classes, I go through maybe 10 or 15 minutes of a pre-class lecture on a short topic, and these are some of them that I've done in the past, and I may do some others. So just a way to sort of get started and to get your brain tingling. So here's some of the people you'll be seeing in class. We have people who are Stanford students, people from the VA, people from companies, people in the class, people who have taken the class before, and all of them are really interesting and really great people. These are people that I've known for years and years, and have done really good presentations. Okay, so here's the lectures that we're going to have. So Thursday is a big day where people who are working on team projects get to hear pitches from people who suggested these projects. So if you're in that category of working on a team project, then you definitely want to attend this. We're going to talk about need finding. We're going to talk about people who have had stroke. This is going to be the best class. It always is. Perspectives of Stanford students with a disability. I guarantee you that'll be enjoyable. We're going to hear from a woman who works for a company that makes exoskeletons, and here's Fernanda, one of the community members who sits in because she's a quadriplegic, but here she is wearing this exoskeleton, and maybe we'll have a repeat of that this year. We're going to talk about robotics. We're going to talk about prosthetics. We're going to have a movie screening. We're going to go to the VA. We're going to hear from Terry Adams from the Office of Accessible Education. We're going to go to a gait lab looking at walking and motion capture. We're going to talk about aesthetics and design. It's really important. And we're talking about wheelchair fabrication in developing countries. So this is like good stuff. So as I mentioned, these topics were chosen because they're really interesting and really well presented, and they may not coincide with the project that you're working on. So don't be upset if that's the case. That's fine. So we may run over. Some class sessions may run over. I apologize for that, but I'll try to have a break right at 5:30 so people who really need to leave can leave. But you're welcome to stick around afterwards. I'm not sure what happens in this classroom afterwards, but you're welcome to come up and talk to me. And the class before this ends at 3:30, so that's an opportunity for you to talk to me beforehand, before class, or your team to talk to me before class. So another opportunity to talk. So I also send out emails with links to new projects and articles and stuff like that on Friday typically, and with some administrative stuff. So yeah, so tell your friends that we got a few more empty seats, so we can use a few more people. So any questions so far? Joe? Oh, okay. So the project, how are projects proposed? So I do that like starting in the summer. I really solicit projects from the community, and it has to meet certain requirements. It has to be involved with a person with a disability or an older adult. It has to be something that can be done in the class. That's not too big. We can't work on vans or things like that. It can't be too expensive. It has to be pretty simple. But there's a whole web page where I go through the requirements. But and it's a long process. And one of the things that's really important is to write it up as a problem statement. When you read through the handout, you'll see how it's written up as a problem. And so it's a problem that you have to solve. I'm not telling you how to solve it. That's up to you. I'm here to help you through the process, and there'll be other people to help you as well. Okay? I accept project proposals all the time, because there's maybe opportunities next quarter or over the summer. So we're going to take a short break now. If you haven't signed in, please do. If you haven't got a cookie, please do that. If you haven't gotten your handouts, please do that now, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes, okay? Thanks. Oh, I'm so glad. You don't have to sign it. You don't get any of those. This is the one you get. Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi,
Ariana, sign in. Find your name. Did you? Yes, please. You have a place for that. Okay. These are for community members. So that's you. Hello, I'm Dave. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Nandita.
Yeah, okay. And what, you signed up for 3 units?
I might not have signed up on Access yet.
Okay.
So
How many were you thinking about?
I'm still
Team.
haven't decided.
Okay.
Sure.
You got one of both then.
Okay, thank you.
And one of these. Yes, that's that list over there. Hi, Exxon.
Will this slide deck
Yes.
be posted somewhere?
Yes.
Cool. And the lectures were listed in chronological order on that slide?
Yeah, there are some of them that weren't chronological, but look on the course website. You'll have a list of all that. Yeah. You want a cookie?
Yeah.
No. You can fill out one of these forms.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'm shopping this class in the
Okay.
so I might consider it.
Okay. Which one did you hand out that I give you before?
One.
Okay. Okay. No, this is for students. This is all the stuff is online. Hi. With a letter grade? Okay. Of course. Okay. All right, we're back. So let's talk about assistive technology. So this is what the rest of the lecture will be about. Definitions are always a good thing to talk about. And I really like this dictionary because it's open to a page that has a definition of chocolate. Okay, So we're going to be talking about the definition of these terms, which is really important to understand what we're referring to. Disability can be defined in many ways, and one of the ways that it's defined is it's a condition, a health problem that prevents a person from working or limits the amount of work that they can do. So that's a very limited definition, but for people who are interested in just that, this works out fine. A different definition is provided by the VA. They talk about a percent disabled type of condition. And these are based upon a loss of limbs and stuff like that. So sometimes you hear the term 100% disabled, so that's what it refers to. But I haven't found a place where it defines what 5% is or 10% is, so I don't know. So a more broad definition is defined in terms of limitations to a person's activities, which include not only working, but also housework, taking care of yourself, and other age-appropriate activities. So that's a better definition. And the World Health Organization looks at disability as a three-part definition: an impairment, which is due to a problem with the body or structure, and how it limits a person being able to do a task, and how that limitation restricts a person's involvement in society, working or raising a family or whatever. So it's a three-part deal. So when you talk about disability, it's not just a health problem, but it involves both features of a person's body and features of society in general. And that includes environmental and social barriers. If we didn't have accessible classrooms, then students might not be able to get into the classroom. And that's not a problem with the person, it's a problem with the environment, the built environment. People with disabilities have even more health needs than non-disabled people because they have special health conditions that may require special care. In a lot of places, they don't have enough health care even for able-bodied people. So, people with disabilities are vulnerable to problems in their health beyond the normal population. And they may have trouble just accessing the care that will help them. Okay? So I came up with a definition of disability. So a health condition that prevents one from taking full advantage of life's opportunities as like education, vocation, working, recreation, activities of daily living. And certainly one of the opportunities that you're all experiencing now is the opportunity to go to Stanford. Maybe a long time ago, if you had a disability, that might prevent you from getting a good education. So, but I rethought that, and I said, disability is any situation, not just a health situation, that prevents you from taking advantage of life's opportunities and talents. Because what if you're in a country, what if you're a really smart person with a disability or not, and you're in a country that's at war, and you're living in a refugee camp? That's a very disabling condition. You can't use your skills to help other people. So it's not just a health situation, but political and economic and stuff like that. So this is not a Wi-Fi coverage map. It's a map of where people with disabilities are. And they're everywhere. There's even some in this room. So lots of people in the U.S. with disabilities. Lots of people worldwide with disabilities, over 1 billion. That's a lot of people, 15%. A lot of people have severe disabilities. Kids have disabilities. A lot of healthcare costs relate specifically to disabilities. It's a large minority group. People who are older, like me, are a large disability group. There's people with vision impairments, people with hearing impairments, people who are wheelchair users, people that have developmental disabilities, and a very small amount of people are born with a disability, so the rest is acquired. And fully 15% of Stanford students are registered with the Office of Accessible Education with a disability. And it may not be a physical disability, it may be some other kind of disability which isn't obvious. Disability rates vary by every factor you can think of. And this is the killer right here. Disabilities result in a reduced chance for education and employment. If you can't go to school and you can't get a job, how are you going to take care of yourself? Not a good situation. Disabilities associated with differences in income. You know, if you can't get a good job because of a disability, you're not going to make that much money. And people, as they get older, experience limitations. I can't run as fast as I used to. I can't play volleyball or as much as I did before. A lot of disability types. We've talked about being born with a disability, have it acquired, be acquired through disease or accident. It could be a sensory disability, having to deal with the eyes or ears. Functional, like walking, things like that. It could be something hidden, like psychological and neurological conditions like stroke and other developmental disabilities. But some of the disabilities are temporary. You know, how many people have ever had to use crutches or had sprained ankle and stuff like that? So you were temporarily disabled, okay? But even with a disability, you can be a part of this cool cartoon gang. You can go to school, you can do sports, you can be a character in Second Life, you can be President of the United States. Okay, which disabilities are the most obvious disabilities? This is an easy question. Yes, yes, the ones that you can see. You know, if you're missing an arm or you're in a wheelchair or something, you know, it's pretty obvious. But if you have something going on mentally, if you're wearing glasses, you know, you can tell. But if you have hearing impairments or other types of impairments like that, it could be totally hidden. I remember a student who was here about 2 years ago, beautiful student, freshman, looked very attractive looking, but she had a learning disability. She was not able to study like everybody else, and or even really understand fully what was being said. So despite the way that you look, you could have a severe disability. Okay. So people with disabilities, you know, they want to be as well as they can, and people with disabilities are healthy people. You know, once they get their disability under control, they want to have as much function as they can because they want to do things by themselves. They want to be independent. They want to have a high quality of life. They want to take advantage of all the opportunities. And so opportunities comes back again. Lots of things that we do. Pursue happiness. That's really important. And this item here, you know, I think people in one sense want to be integrated with everybody else to feel a part of the whole. But a lot of times you just want to be, you know, maybe by yourself or with your team, or you know, you just want to, you know, represent yourself. So, you know, you can't say that all people that have hearing impairments, you know, should be together. They want to be together, maybe sometimes with their own kind of people because they have their own culture. Deaf people have their own culture. In the U.S., through mainstreaming and ADA, it's really a diminishing kind of stigma. And people with disabilities are everywhere. They're on campus, they're at work, things like that. In other countries, a lot of times kids with disabilities are stay at home. They don't go to school. They don't get out of their home because of embarrassment and things like that. So in Japan, they really like to come up with a high-tech solution to everything. So, and in some cases, disability is actually an advantage, as in this Dilbert cartoon, which I'll read to you. So we got Dilbert, we got his boss, and a job interviewee. So the boss says, I'm looking for an employee who's creative. And the interviewee says, that's me. I have ADHD and dyslexia. I'm also bipolar and schizophrenic. And Dilbert says, checking the internet. Wow, that's surprising. Each of these conditions is highly correlated with creativity. And the interviewee says, are you a normal? And the boss says, I think so. Wow, I feel sorry for you. It must be hard going through life without any creativity. And the boss says, what's happening here? It must be some kind of creative thing. So Actually, you've heard of people with, some of these conditions actually being preferentially hired. And there's actually a company that does a good job in testing these people to bring out their positive aspects. A lot of people with ADHD are maybe more focused on the job, so they make really good employees, okay? So I want all the community members to put their hand over their mouth, Elaine, because it was revealed last time. So I want you to identify a group of individuals who spend a lot of time in institutions before they can contribute to society. Excuse me? Students. Is it really, do you think it's really fair for me to say that? I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel institutionalized? Right. So the story is that education is a part of a process. Everybody's born with intelligence, but maybe not knowledge and skills. So going through school, gives you those added things. And so maybe it's fair to say that you have an incomplete education until you get that diploma, maybe, okay? So, but if you can only, plug yourself in and capture these skills, download them, and there's actually people working on this. I'm working on memory parts, things from memory, to reinforce memory and perhaps download skills like this would be great. But if it's been said that after 24, you're actually sort of going downhill. So that's, so you can look forward to going downhill. I've been going downhill for a long time. But that's fine. So I tried to make a graph of ability over time. And certainly when you're born, you're really totally dependent on others, for everything. Food, taking care of yourself. You can't even sit up by yourself. But after a while, you learn to walk and balance is really important. Ride a two-wheeler, that was a really important part of your life. Have enough coordination to do cursive and throw a baseball. And of course, drive a car, that was a really big moment in people's lives. So, once you get, a degree and stuff and you get enough experience, and you can really pay back society, for all that they've given you. So talking about ability is having talents and opportunities to contribute to society. I think that's why we're all here. We're all here to contribute to help out one another. Okay, so let's talk about political correctness. The first thing you have to learn, and this is really important, is when you talk about a person with a disability, you put the person first rather than the condition first. So you say an individual with a disability rather than a disabled individual. Focus on capabilities and refer to the person rather than the group. So you don't say the disabled or the deaf, but it's actually okay to say the blind because the people who are blind said, you can say that, it's too awkward the other way around. So, because if you say the disabled, it really excludes, you're making two groups. You say the people and the disabled, but we're actually, one, people and people with disabilities are just a subset. And we live in a society where it's an inclusive society that in the Constitution it says, we the people. How inclusive is that? That our forefathers, could have wrote, we're a couple really smart people and this is what we think, for ourselves. No, they were thinking about everybody. Okay, that's important. So it's people first terminology. Names the person first and the condition second because people are people first and disability is a secondary attribute. So think about yourself. How would people describe you? What is your secondary attribute? Maybe, Dave, he's the professor of this course and he has gray hair and a gray beard, But how would you like to be described of, here's Audrey is a person, she drives that red scooter around. How would you like to have your disability being your secondary attribute and being defined like that? That's pretty tough. So let's do a little exercise here. 3 blind mice, obviously not person first or animal first. So what should we say? And this is sort of silly, but okay. Let's not spend any time on this. A trio of Rhode Americans who are experiencing severe visual impairments. Okay. You know, I mean, it's not, it's you know, we should think about these things realistically, okay? It's not a hard and fast rule. So there's lots of terminology. You talk about paras and quads instead of paraplegics and quadriplegics, and that's okay. But then you get really into derogatory stuff like gimps, crips, spaz, and retards. But people, if you have a group of people who are all wheelchair users, they'll call each other crips, okay? And that's okay. Within group is okay, but if you talk about another group, you know, you're in trouble, okay? So use of terms is important. You've got to know who the person is. Is a person a patient who's under the care of a doctor, a user who's maybe, you know, using a device, a subject of an experiment, a person who's making a purchase decision? You never, ever say suffering with, afflicted with, confined to, victim of. Although maybe you'll hear it on the news and stuff. It's wrong because you don't know how much a person is suffering. I can look around here and I can say, I can see that there are people suffering from a bad hair day. You know, is that suffering or not? You know, you don't know. I mean, you know, unless you have a pictogram and saying, you know, how much each disease, what suffering level it is. So you just don't say that. You say diagnosed with, living with, survivor, experienced, stuff like that. So a lot of terminology. There was some terminology that used to be in vogue that was perfectly fine. Moron, imbecile, idiot, and spastic. Those were perfectly good terms, not good terms anymore. And there's even still this persistent vegetative state is a terrible term. And we still use it a lot in our language. And there's even books, you know, books for dummies and idiots. I mean, you have to identify with that group. Yeah, yes, I'm a dummy, and so I can buy this book. But they, you know, I sold a bunch of them. We see people all the time in the TV and in movies with disabilities. My first encounter was with Captain Hook, and this isn't really a hook. This is a hook, prosthetic hook. We've seen some in the movies. Harry Potter, Gary Busey had a brain injury, and that's why he's acting like he's acting. And we have the Elephant Man and Dr. Strangelove, and we have the Munchkins from Wizard of Oz, of course. Yeah, we have this guy from, I'm sorry. Yeah, and Phantom of the Opera. And we have some real life stuff, and Dolphin Tale is about prosthetists who work with a dolphin, and they actually came out with a second follow-on. Lots of famous people with disabilities. Who knows what Moses' disability impairment was? Is what? No, you were watching the wrong movie. Excuse me? He had a speech impediment, okay, and because the angel directed his hand to pick up a hot coal as part of an intelligence test, okay? Does that sound familiar? Okay, and he put his hand in his mouth, okay? So here's some new inductees into the area. We all know about Jerry Seinfeld saying he's on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. We have Bono, who has a titanium elbow, and he says he probably can't play guitar again. He had a motorcycle accident recently. We had Richard III, who had scoliosis. KQED did a really interesting story about, you know, could somebody with scoliosis be fitted with armor and actually fight? We have Brian Stowe, who got beat up at the Giants game. We have Temple Grandin, who has autism, and she spoke at Stanford a couple months ago. And Jose Canseco, yeah, we all know about him. And here's some Stanford professors who just this past year got hearing aids, okay? So it happens to all of us. And of course, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you know, had this, you know, deformity, okay? So it's, you know, disability is everywhere. So here's my colleague, Robert Van Etten. What's the correct terminology to refer to him? He's Bob. That's his name. Bob First, okay. Really neat guy. And then some people create a unique appearance in order to be different, to look different. I'm not sure that's impairment, but whatever. So let's talk about assistive technology. So a lot of times people think about, oh, there's technology in the word, so it has to do with a device. And there is one definition that assistive technology is a device that helps maintain and improve the functional capability of people with disabilities. But my definition includes the process of designing, developing, and bringing to market a device like this. So it's both the device and the process, okay? And these devices, help people with disabilities by through an enhanced or alternate method of interacting with the world around them. If it could be a robot, it could be a prosthetic or whatever. But it's clear to me that these kind of devices, help everyone. And maybe everything is assistive technology. So this is my latest idea, that everything that we see around us, we built in order to make life easier for us, because we're not very mobile. We can go like 3 miles an hour walking speed. If we had to do that all day, we'd never get any place. So we invented cars and planes and stuff like that. We can't shout very far, so we need, cell phones and computers to get our information from one corner of the planet to the other really quickly. Hospitals certainly help us. Networks of roads and electricity and gas lines and water lines, and food, stuff like that. But the biggest piece of assistive technology we're all using right now, it's called Stanford University. Think of when you're born, like I said, you have intelligence but no knowledge. You have to go through this arduous process and spend lots of time and money getting to the point where we have knowledge and skills and can help other people. So you're using assistive technology right now. Everything is assistive technology. And we're all, when you take a look at it, we're all pretty puny creatures. I mean, ask any superhero who can fly, and they'll tell you, God, these guys can't even fly. They're like ants. Okay. So new assistive technology devices are being developed all the time to help people with disabilities and to help everyone. We're getting new stuff all the time in Las Vegas. The Consumer Electronics Show, that's a place where they're coming up with new assistive technology to help us, right? Apps is our assistive technology. So all that stuff. People who work in assistive technology are not just engineers. We got physicians, clinicians, therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, people who supply devices, people who make policy, educator. I guess I fall into that category. When we talk about rehabilitation, we're talking about a medical model where doctors say we want to do anything we can through surgery or medication therapy to restore function. But a more inclusive model includes assistive technology. The goal of rehabilitation is to restore the function, but in assistive technology, we want to increase independence and improve people's quality of life. So rehab engineering is a scientific approach that combines medicine, engineering, and science to improve quality of life for people with disabilities. And rehab engineers are people that work in these activities, designing things, researching and developing things, moving things from the lab to the marketplace, marketing them, providing them training and education. So in my professional rehab engineering society, there's these special interest groups. They range from rural rehabilitation for farmers and stuff because they get injured a lot because of the hazardous equipment they use, robotics and sensory loss and transportation and things like that. So rehab technology includes rehab engineering, assistive technology devices, and assistive technology services. So this is a bundling of things. And this is really important. We've seen that there's lots of people worldwide with disabilities, but even though there's 70 million people with disabilities, they're all individuals, all unique people, and each person has their own unique desires and needs. So if you want to make something for the disability market, it actually comes down to custom designing something for each individual almost, and that's why when you look at the market of assistive technology devices, those companies are very small companies, and the devices that they sell are very expensive because they have a very limited market. Okay. Well, okay. In an effort to counteract that, there's a concept of universal design, which we'll hear more about. So the idea is to design things so the greatest number of people can use them. But that sort of falls on its face when we talk about individual needs. Where that works best is in environment things where we have this very nice ramp integrated with stairs, with things that everybody can use in the environment. We all use curb cuts. This is a really neat touch-activated faucet. But when it comes to designing something, one wheelchair that everybody can use, it's not going to happen, okay? So let's talk about some devices. This is one of the things I worked on over 30 years ago before any of you were born, students were born. So this is a wheelchair that uses the head as a mechanism to control the wheelchair. So these are ultrasonic sensors that range to the person's head from 2 directions and monitor the change of position when you move your head. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to run this manually. So I'm sure you're interested in seeing it work. Boy, look how dark my hair was back then. So I'm just controlling it with the tilt of my head, and those are pretty exaggerated tilts. So nothing is connected to me, and it's just picking up changes in my head position. And nobody has picked up this concept. I was so far ahead of everything.
How do you control the speed?
By the further I tilt. So it's like your head is the joystick, okay? And I can rotate my head, and it doesn't affect the direction. Okay. So another device I worked on was this hand that does finger spelling. Everybody knows that finger spelling is a subset of sign language, where instead of representing words like sign language does, it represents letters, and everybody knows this is a V and a J and so on. So we developed a hand that takes as its input characters from a computer and produces the finger spelling equivalent of them, and so that can be used by a person who is deaf and blind, who feels it, and who understands that they would understand what's being typed. So this goes off to a computer, and as letters are typed, the finger spelling equivalent is formed, and the person who is deafblind would feel that and understand what it was. Okay. So that involved a little computer in there. Oh, I worked on this really neat project with a driving simulator to assess people's driving after they've had a brain injury. We did this at the VA. So let's look at some other things that are really neat things in our market. This is a computer science student. She worked with this brain-computer interface that she built a on-screen keyboard for a person who was quadriplegic, so that he could type out letters just by blinking. So the way that worked is that each row was highlighted, and then you would blink when the letter that you desire is highlighted, and then it would highlight individual letters across the screen. So that's the kind of thing you can do if you're a Stanford computer science person. This is a 60 Minutes article. This woman has a brain-computer interface, and it's built into her brain, actually. And this is the connection, and there's a bunch of computers back here. And if you can take a look, this is a robotic arm, and they've just reported that she can control 10 degrees of freedom simultaneously with that. So you can go to the 60 Minutes to check that out. So it's really amazing. But you have to have this plug in your head. 3D printing has made a giant inroads into prosthetics. There's a bunch of people working on designing 3D printed mechanical hands very cheaply. Not sure how good they're going to be. You can do that in foreign countries, developing countries. Lots of different designs, and a lot of these are free on the web. This is a transformer bed wheelchair. Big problem is getting people transferred from a bed to their wheelchair, but with this device, this part of the bed breaks off and converts to a chair, so it can be wheeled around in that. So transformer technology in action. Some people can use current devices to help them do things that they weren't able to do, like this woman in Santa Cruz who photographs things using Google Glass. Stanford had a design challenge last year for people with dementia. Here's some of the things that are on the market to make it easier for people to spoon things, to see things in their plate, to cut things and prepare things, to hold things. And this was the winning entry, and Shah will be talking to us later on in the course about this device. And if you're not, another whole area of work is with pets with disabilities. And this was a PBS program, and this is, you can get this online. And if you ever want to be choked up by people or animals with disabilities, go, watch this. I mean, it's just amazing to see, this pig running around for the first time. And you see it all the time with dogs and stuff like that. And there's people that, take advantage of interesting designs for wheelchairs, expressing a person's uniqueness through the mobility device. We're going to see this device, liftware spoon that counteracts tremors. We'll have that at the Assistive Technology Fair for you to check out. Let's look at some projects from last year. This is Matt, and he has this robotic grasper that is controlled by a brain-computer interface. So that was really neat. Another team, non-engineers, 3D printed this DNA molecule for a teaching tool for blind students. And this is how it worked. And this is Kartik, a blind student in the class last year, evaluating it. So that was neat. And there were a couple students who had sisters with disability, and one sister designed the storage system for her sister's wheelchair. Chase and Alex worked on this blade system that has a clip to clip into a bicycle, so the person is able to both run and bike in the triathlon without changing his prosthetic. Really neat. Worked out well. Austin built an interactive laptop with an iPad for a sister who has developmental disabilities. He wasn't an engineer either. Great job. And Elizabeth designed a custom bag, but it's more than that. In fact, these bags have an interface here that you can slip out one bag and slip in another bag, because sometimes you don't want to have red every day. You want to have a choice in your purse every day, right? Am I right? So let's finally go through a couple highlights of last year. Ralph Hotchkiss talking about this wheelchair design that he's developed for third world countries that costs $200. That's built in the country. And he's optimized the design over years and years. And he was one of the first people to win MacArthur Genius Award, and the first person to use AutoCAD back in the days of MS-DOS. So he's well ahead of his time. Here's Evan at the Motion and GAN Analysis Lab, wired up with these motion capture things. You can see how brightly they light up with a flash, and here's the cameras that track them. So this motion capture and tracking you see in movies and video games all the time, but it started in these gate labs. This is Julie. She was a student in class. She was she's a race car driver, but here she's racing around in a power wheelchair at the VA, and you'll have a chance to do that as well. Here's an eye gaze communication aid at the VA that we checked out. This is at the Assistive Technology Fair. This is Beam telepresence device, and here's I forgot his name, but he's a quadriplegic, and he attended the fair remotely. And I just read, like today, that this company has set up a store to sell these things, and there are no people in the store. These things are sold in the store by telepresence. So so he's able to control this by himself, Henry Evans. So this is our Assistive Technology Fair. This is the Wii wheelchair, and there's actually a project around this device. So you'll see this on Thursday. And this was actually at the Consumer Electronics Show. They had like a 1-second clip of this wheelchair device. Students checking out a prosthetic leg. This is our panel of Stanford students with disabilities. We'll see Aubrey again this year, and Kartik as well. This is Debbie Kenny and a panel of people that have had a stroke, and all the products that she brought. And this is what Pitch Day looked like last year. A lot of people coming in to pitch projects for you students to work on. Neat stuff. And you'll be doing this on the 13th, practicing brainstorming right in this classroom. So there's lots of projects that were solicited from the community. Here's a short list of them, and you can read about them in the descriptions that the team, the students who are working on team projects got, or they're also online as well. I'll be talking about a couple projects as well for other people, and I have a few of my own projects. So if you have a chance, read this Designing Your Afterlife project. I was very proud of the wording there. And these are some of the people that can help you with your projects. These are people that I know have been around here, been students before, in the class before, and they're around to help you with your project. You'll see a lot of people in the class who don't look like students. They're community members, and they help out in the class by providing an additional perspective, and they can help you with your project as well. So they're always welcome. In summary, we have a very flexible course. We want to enhance your professional skills through lectures, projects, field trips, movie screenings, lots of opportunity for participation. Assistive technology benefits everyone. Everything is assistive technology, and lots of challenges remaining, and that's why it's such a neat deal. So if anybody has written a question, we'll work on that now. If anybody has a question, this is the time to ask. I can't believe I got through this. Here's the website. Go to the website. I spend a lot of time getting that together. Questions? No questions? You're not participating. Listen, I fed you chocolate chip cookie. The least you can do is ask a question. Okay.
Still a little confused how that route hand interface works.
Oh.
Is
Okay.
that someone's actual hand in the picture?
No, it's a mechanical hand that uses servo motors to control fingers. And we actually came up with a really clever mechanical design that with one servo motor, you can bend the finger like this. And I don't think anybody's come up with that before. So we actually designed a new mechanical linkage system. Yes, yes. Yes, they are. You really want to go to them because it gets you out of the classroom. We're going to arrange for drivers to take you there. If you have a car, you're welcome to drive other students. Well, I have a sign-up list. We've done this before. It's not a big problem. Okay, and it's all close by. It may take a little bit longer, but I guarantee you it'll be worth it. Okay. Anybody have written out a question? Okay. You know, you guys got to be much better in the answer.
Share just a little bit about how to use forms
How teams be formed? I'm going to bring my magic wand. Okay, so I want you to read all the projects. On Thursday, there'll be pitches for each one. I'll have a form that as the projects are pitched, you can indicate on there happy face or sad face. And at the end of all the pitches, you can pick your top 5. I take all those sheets, I put them on a web page so you can see other people that have similar interests and get together with them. You're also welcome to come down and talk to the individual who pitched the project afterwards, and maybe that getting together will find other people. It's worked in the past. Teams can be 1, 2, or 3 people. It's important for you to pick a project within, pretty much within your skill level. There's a wide variety of projects, so I'm sure that there's something that will suit you. But if you have a great project idea, convince me that it's a good one and you can work on it. These projects, if you have a family member with a disability, those kinds of projects always work well. Okay, anything else? All right, please come up and sign the list if you haven't. And if you need another chocolate chip cookie to replenish yourself, please come up here, say hello to me. All the stuff that you filled out, you can just leave on the desk or you can bring it up to me. Thank you so much for attending and enrolling. If you have any questions that you haven't thought of, you can email me, and I'll see you on Thursday. Please try to get here as on time because we're going to move very fast. Hi. Yeah. Dave.
Dave, I'm sorry. I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm Andrew from GSC. I'm actually working on a startup right now, building wearable devices for the elderly. That's why I found out.
No, we call them older adults.
Older adults, of course.
You don't say the elderly.
But, okay, this is something we actually deliberated, and they seem to be all right with it. But
No.
I was.
Use older adults. Change everything. Change elderly to older adults. You can just put that stuff any place.
I was wondering, because I'm not trying to get credit for the class.
Yeah.
And I already have a project, so I don't feel like I should be
You-
double count it.
No, you can come. You can.
Is it okay if I just
Sure.
attend the lectures?
Sure. You can sign up for one unit if that's appropriate for you. It's up to you. Please sign in here so I can record you.
I'm already registered actually.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I have any more credits.
Okay. Well, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Hi, Dan.
Hey, just real quick, it sounds like you've got everything lined up, but if you'd like me to participate in any panels or anything.
Well, you already are on that panel.
Am I?
with-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to lend my opinion whenever.
Please. I mean, your perspective is important.
Okay, great. See you on Thursday.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Kanhika.
Kanhika.
So I'm studying at the design program,
Yes.